All right, so look, before we get into this episode this week, I made a decision this week, y'all, a personal one. I wasn't planning to talk about this. It's not because I'm ashamed of it, not because I'm trying to hide this. I just didn't think it needed to become content. But the more that I sat with that decision, the more I realized that that decision wasn't really the story. The story is what that decision actually revealed about my habits, about my family, about my work, my future, and honestly, about the man I'm becoming right now. That part, I think that belongs to more people than just me. So let's get into it. There were mornings where I would actually wake up, right? I would step outside and I would light up before I actually did anything. Before breakfast, before work got done, before I had any real conversations. Before the day had been given that opportunity to even become something. And sometimes my dad would catch me going outside. He'd look at me, shake his head a little bit, and then he'll say, "You know what, son? You don't even get a day a chance." We would laugh, right? And I always thought he was just messing with me, because you know how dads are. I thought it was one of those little lines that fathers would just repeat, just because they know it gets a reaction out of you. What I didn't understand at the moment was it was actually planting something in me. He wasn't trying to win an argument. He wasn't trying to control me. He wasn't even demanding that I stop. He was just simply saying, before you change how the day feels, why don't you find out what that day actually is? And 20-something years later, I finally understood him. In this episode, it isn't really about weed. It's about what happens when your routines actually become so normal that you stop noticing what it might be costing you. It's about whatever we reach for before we give our minds, our lives, and our future a fair chance to speak. Welcome to Word Forward, y'all, where we give structure and clarity to this noisy world we're living in. I'm your host, Damien J. Branch, and this is episode 21, so let's get into it. Here's the thing about wisdom when it arrives as a joke. It's not always trying to convince you to do anything. Sometimes it's just waiting for you to catch up. My dad wasn't trying to lecture me that day. He wasn't trying to sit me down for some long conversation about this. He would just simply say that one line. He planted that seed, no pun intended. And then he kept moving. You know what, back then, I didn't have enough life behind me for those words to actually mean something to me today. When you're young and everybody around you is doing the same things, it really doesn't feel like there's a problem. It just feels like you're in that mode. There's a rush to things when you're not supposed to be doing them. And there was just something exciting about it when I was young. Being outside, laughing, eating, joking, having good conversation. But then you're feeling like you're just getting away with something. And at one point, I actually genuinely enjoyed it all. I'm not going to sit here and try to rewrite my history and act like that moment was a terrible one in my life, because it wasn't. There were so many good memories connected to that. There were people that are connected to that. A lot of them that aren't even here anymore. There were entire seasons of my life connected to that. But somewhere along that line, things just stopped feeling the same. It used to be about the moment that we were in. It just started to become about the next time and then the next time. You finish smoking, and before long, you be thinking about when you're going to start smoking again. You start planning your whole day around it. You start making sure, do I have enough? You even start noticing when you're running low. And that's when you have to start asking yourself the hard question. Am I actually enjoying this, or am I just maintaining it? Because when those rewards you used to get start disappearing, but your routine remains, you may not be holding on to pleasure anymore. You're probably just holding on to the repetitions. And repetitions can fool you. Something can happen every single day and still not belong in your life anymore. You stop asking yourself whether you want to do it, and then you just do it. And that's when your habit stops being a habit and it becomes your manager. It starts running your schedules. It's deciding when you're ready. It's determining what version of you is going to show up for that next thing. And because it's been doing it for so long, it just starts to feel normal. My dad, he could see something that I couldn't see yet. He wasn't trying to say that the habit was bad. He was actually saying, hey, the day could actually be good. And I wasn't even giving myself the opportunity to find out. Here is the honest reason why I stopped. It wasn't because someone told me that I had to. It wasn't because I was getting in trouble for something. It's not because I ran out. And it's not because I was forced into making this decision. I actually stopped because I took a minute to look around at every single thing that I'm trying to build right now. And then I realized something. I need my whole brain, not most of it, not the part that's available after I come down, not the part that's trying to push through the fogs, all of it. I'm building Word Forward. I'm rebuilding my gamerhood. I've been growing Branch Brand. I created masterclasses. I'm writing, I'm planning, I'm recording, I'm editing. I'm trying to turn these ideas into things that could actually help a lot of people. I have a new baby on the way. Y'all heard it here first. I have children right now already looking at me, and they watch what I do more than they listen to what I say. You know, I have a wife that went back to school while I was healing up from a bad injury, and she graduated with honors while we're still both trying to figure this life out together. I just have too much responsibility and too much vision at the same time. Too much to just keep showing up to anything at half my capacity. And I had to really be honest with myself about my children. My kids, they see me roll up. They see me step outside. I'm pretty sure they recognize the smell. You know, they watch the whole routine, even if they completely didn't understand what that routine was. But it still bothered me because I don't want them to grow up feeling like a habit that I had is normal to them, way before they could even understand what that thing is and what it can become. I don't want one of my children learning how to roll a joint just because they started watching me. You know that old commercial? It's real. And this is all uncomfortable for me to say. Don't get me wrong, but it's real. I don't want them to remember that daddy always smelled like weed. I don't want them to even connect creativity to getting high. I don't want them to believe that relaxing requires you to change your state of mind because they're going to copy things from me. That's unavoidable. So I have to keep asking myself, what do I actually want them to copy? Do I want them to copy the escape, or do I want them to copy my discipline? Do I want them to copy my routine? Or do I want them to see that a grown man can still examine himself, make a decision, and change fully? And then somewhere in my gut, for real, I knew I'd been operating below what I've been capable of for way too long. You know, not dramatically below, not in a way that everyone around me could immediately see, just enough below that I could feel the ceiling. And the ceiling wasn't my talent. It wasn't my work ethic. It wasn't my imagination. It wasn't even my vision. It was that thing I just kept reaching for before I could see what the day could actually bring me, before I even knew what was possible. So I stopped. Not because I had to. It's because I wanted to see what's on the other side of that ceiling. And then there's the whole money thing. We don't always talk about that part honestly, because when you start buying things in smaller amounts, it doesn't always seem expensive. You know, $35, $40 here, another $40 there. And you tell yourself, hey, it's just $40, two 20s. But bad habits usually like to hide behind normal small transactions like that. A small purchase made often enough is no longer a small expense. And when I really step back and look at it, I gotta ask myself, how much money have I actually been burning? Literally, enough that probably could have went towards something good. It probably could have went towards something I've been building. You know, a new camera, some lights, website expenses, something for the kids, something for my house, and now something for the new baby. Something that can still exist tomorrow. And look, I'm not saying that every dollar has to become a business investment. You are allowed to enjoy your life. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point is, I've been repeatedly spending money on something that wasn't giving me the same enjoyment anymore. And that's when it becomes harder to defend, especially when something's costing you money. It's costing you time. It's costing you focus. And then it's not giving you what you originally fell in love about it. So what are you actually paying for? Sometimes we're not paying for the expense anymore. We're paying to avoid the discomfort from changing your routine. And that becomes more expensive, not financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because every dollar and hour that you give to that thing is a dollar and time that you can't put to something else. Attention is not unlimited, and money is not unlimited. Time is definitely not unlimited. So eventually you have to decide what deserves access to you. I want to say something real important though right now. This is not a do not smoke episode. I'm not here to tell grown people what to do with their lives. That is not word forward. And that's not how I move. You guys can make your own decisions, and I respect y'all to actually try to do that. I'm talking about my decision right now, my life, and what I've started noticing about myself. Weed was my thing, but everybody has something that they reach for before they even fully meet with themselves. For some people, it's their phone. They open their eyes and then they reach for their screens. And then they allow everyone else's thoughts to enter their minds before they even heard the thought that they had on their own. For some people, it's negativity. They wake up already expecting the day to disappoint them. For some people, it's staying in bad situations. Some situations that they know that they've already outgrown, because leaving means you have to show up for somewhere new. And that could be terrifying. The object may be different. The behavior may be different, but the question is the same. What are you reaching for before you even let the day begin? What are you using to tell your day what it's supposed to feel like before the day gives a chance to show you what it actually is? That was the real question inside of my dad's joke. It wasn't only about what I was doing. It was more about what I'm not allowing myself to experience. And then here's something I didn't expect from that. I thought the first few days would start to feel like I lost something. I thought it was going to feel like something was missing from my life. I thought I would just sit down on the couch and think about it all day long. I thought I was going to feel deprived, but instead I didn't feel like I was missing anything. And that surprised me more than anything else. A lot of people connected to those memories, they're not even here anymore. A lot of them passed away. A lot of them moved on with their lives. Many of them just outgrew it. And then some of them just became different people. We all had to grow up. And I'm beginning to really understand that some things can just belong to a season in your life without having to follow you into every other season after that. Something could be a part of your story without becoming a part of your identity. By the second day, I started to notice a lot more clarity. It wasn't like some dramatic movie transformation. It wasn't a beam of light that shined from the ceiling or nothing like that. It's just more space in my head. It's less lags in between my thoughts now. And now that I'm acting on it, I have a little more desire to finish things that I started. A little more energy to hold on to those ideas that pop up in my head. A lot more focus when I sit down to build. And what I really want y'all to hear is this part. I still have weed right there available. I could have smoked. I just didn't want to. And that felt different. It's like when you stop because you ran out, sometimes you're just waiting until you can bump into some more. When you stop because somebody forced you to stop, you're just waiting for them to stop watching you. But when you can, and you generally don't want to, that's a different kind of freedom on yourself. That's you making the decisions, not the habit. Freedom isn't always I can't. A lot of times freedom is I can. I just don't want to. And I don't know if I've ever truly felt like that before. There's another thought that I haven't been able to shake. Maybe I have to leave this one thing alone so I could catch my next blessing. Now, I really want to be careful with that one. It's not like I'm saying, okay, I'm going to stop right now so God can hand me another reward. Because I know that's not how life really works. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that's how I was thinking with y'all. I really don't know what's on the other side of this decision that I made. And I can't promise a specific outcome. But I do know this. Sometimes we ask for something new while we refuse to release that old thing. We ask for more clarity, but we still hold on to the fog. We ask for more money while we continue to fund a certain habit. We ask for more time while we hold on and maintain routines that will consume that time. We ask for growth while we protect the version of ourselves that growth is asking us to leave behind. And maybe there's a version of this podcast, this business, this family life, and this man I'm becoming that I cannot fully reach while I'm still carrying on to something that I've already outgrown. I don't know what's waiting on the other side of this, but I don't want to be the same reason why I miss it. I don't want to look back later on and realize that all of those windows are closed and then wonder what could I have done when I used my full mind and potential? What could I have built? What could I have truly finished? What idea would I have taken much more seriously? What moments with my children would I have been more attentive to? I don't want those answers to arrive after the opportunities are gone. So I'm making room right now. Not because I know exactly what's ahead of me or what's showing up. I just want to be awake enough to recognize it when it arrives. And here's a part I have to completely be real about with you guys. This isn't all inspiration, clarity, and new beginnings. There's a part of this that's actually a little scary. Because once you remove that thing that's been softening the edges of your day, you don't have the same excuse anymore. The fog is gone. The filter is gone. The thing that you blame for your slow mornings, your slow starts, and your half-finished ideas, the sessions that you could have gone a little harder on, all gone. Which means if this next episode isn't great, I can't say I was cloudy. If the next project doesn't move, I can't say I wasn't thinking clearly. If I ever keep procrastinating on something, if I continue to leave things unfinished, if I don't become who I keep saying I'm turning into, I can't point at the habit anymore. That's what clarity is going to cost you. It removes the alibi. And I think that may be one of the reasons that people hold on to certain things. It's not because they enjoy them for real. It's not only because they're physically attached to them. Sometimes and most times, we hold on to things because it gives us an explanation. As long as I have this thing, I have a reason why I'm not fully there yet. I would have finished it, but this is happening. I would have started that, but I wasn't focused enough. I would have followed through, but my head wasn't right. And then once the fog disappears for real, it's just you. And everything that you said that you were going to do. Yeah, that could feel scary, but it also could feel powerful. Because if the habit wasn't the source of your talent, then losing the habit doesn't mean that you're losing yourself. Your creativity's still there. Your personality's still there. Your humor didn't go nowhere. Your idea's still there. You are still you. You may just finally be meeting that version of you that can follow through. So, like I said, my dad, he used to catch me outside a lot of mornings. And then he'll tell me, hey, son, you don't even get a day a chance. I laugh now about that. 20-something years later, I can finally understand what he meant. He wasn't only talking about what I was doing in the moment. He was talking about what I was missing in the moment. And I don't want to miss those moments anymore. So let me bring this one home. This morning, I walked outside. Same door, same fresh air. The same world is waiting on the other side of it. And I just stood there for a minute. There was no rush to change how I felt. There was no rush to make the morning become something else. I just let the day start. My dad would have liked that. Not because he was always right about it. It's not because fathers always have the right answers. It's because he planted that seed that finally found the right ground to grow in. Maybe that's one of the strongest things about losing somebody. Sometimes their words will just keep growing on you, even after they're no longer here to explain any of it. You live, you struggle, you change, and then one day, a sentence that they gave you years ago will just pop up in your mind. And then you understand what they were trying to leave behind. So if I'm leaving behind one thing with you today, it isn't stop doing your thing. That decision has to be yours and yours alone. And it has to happen when you fully want to be honest with yourself. But tomorrow morning, before you reach for that thing that you've always reached for, just wait 1 minute. Take a second. See who you are before that habit arrives. Listen to what your mind actually sounds like before you quiet it. Notice what your body is asking you to do. Notice what your life is asking you to do. Notice what ideas are trying to reach for you before you cover it all up. And then ask yourself this: what am I reaching for before I even give the day a chance to show me what it has for me? Maybe it's a substance, maybe it's a person, maybe it's a device, maybe it's just fear, maybe it's an old story that you just keep telling yourself. But whatever it is, try giving the day a chance first. Not some dramatic promise, not forever, just long enough to find out who you are before the routine tells you who you are. You might be surprised at what you hear, and you might be surprised at what you feel. You might be surprised at how ready you've been. And you're going to discover something, that the thing that was helping you face your day was actually helping you prevent your full potential in it. So go ahead and give your day a chance. Give your future a chance. Give your children a clearer example of you. Give your work your full capacity. And maybe most importantly, give yourself a chance before you tell yourself what you need. So if this episode hit, I want you to share it with somebody that has a thing. It doesn't matter what that thing is. They'll know exactly what you meant when you send this. Follow Word Forward on all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, and drop me a comment and tell me something. What is the thing that you reach for before you give your day a chance? And what do you think might be waiting on the other side of it when you put it down? I want to read all of those, and I'm going to respond back. The inner circle is in the description so we can keep building on these topics. This is Word Forward, y'all. I'll see you in the next one.